Hi, I'm Ken Jr. and welcome to Train World TV. Here you'll find the latest and greatest in model trains. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. And if you're new to our channel, we're glad you're here, and I invite you to click the subscribe button and hit that bell notification so you'll never miss a video. Now, we'd also love to send you exclusive deals and special announcements that you won't find anywhere else. So be sure to sign up for our emails, TW Text, and stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Now, you can find all the links in the description box below or trainworld.com. And without further ado, enjoy today's video. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Train World TV. And we got another episode. Tony is getting tired these days. I'm getting tired. It's been a lot, but another special action-packed episode. And we have both Tony Cook from Model Railroad News tonight. How you doing, Tony? I'm doing great, Ken. What do you mean you're getting tired? I said we got to do this Bachmann show, and you've been holding out on me. We finally got Matt here, so we got all sorts of neat Bachmann stuff to talk about tonight. I know. I thought I was the young gun, but it's Tony. Tony's got all the energy. He's like the Energizer Bunny. Just keeps on going. And but the man of the hour. Matt Stern, Bachmann Trains. How you doing, Matt?
I'm doing good, Ken. How are you?
All right, not too bad. And it's always great to see Bachmann Trains on the show. They do a great job with us with Thomas Tuesdays, which is actually next Tuesday or this upcoming Tuesday coming up. But tonight is all about Matt Stern and Bachmann and the new announcements and just, I guess, the NMRA announcements, 2022 announcements, just a lot of new product.
Absolutely, yeah. Now, we announced a lot of this stuff at the end of August, and we've had a lot of feedback from people. People are really excited about it, and yeah, I'm just excited to go through this this whole catalog and kind of discuss a little bit more about each product.
That's awesome, Matt. And before we kick things off, maybe we should start things off with a nice introduction because, you know, this is a first time, and I know you're a newer face in the not in the hobby, but for Bachmann Trains. So why don't you introduce yourself and kind of talk what you do at Bachmann?
Sure. So yeah, so my name is Matt Stern. I've been with Bachmann for almost 2 years now, maybe a year and a half or so now. And I'm the communications manager, so I handle things like social media. I do a lot of the copy for advertising and marketing and stuff like that. And I'm also a lifelong model railroader, so it's kind of a dream place to be.
That's awesome.
They're doing a fantastic job. I was saying that, Ken, to the folks at Bachmann, like in the last 6 months to a year, saying, boy, the Facebook posts, everything, it's great, the stuff that Matt's doing, the excitement in the products and showing the new things, like when he gets samples of pieces. We got to see the tank cars that he's going to show us in a bit, when he had just the early samples, and then he's got decorated samples. We're really getting some inside stuff that's everybody always wants to see and wants to know. So just knocking it out of the park, keeping us up to date on what's happening.
And just so you know, I'm as excited to show you that stuff as you are to see it. When I see that stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta show Facebook about it.
That sounds like me, Ken. See, you know, you can't help it. It's like, oh, this is so cool. Yeah.
That's it. And I do want to say, Matt, I must compliment you because your videos and the marketing material just really nice, and you're doing a great job. And I know Bachmann is happy to have you aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's kick it off with trains. Everybody likes talking trains.
All right. So we're just going to go in order through the catalog, if that sounds good with you, Ken.
Sure. Let me share our screen, and we'll do the first big unveiling.
All right.
Hold on one second. There we go.
All right. So there we are with the new Amtrak Acela 2. This is something that, I think a lot of people probably saw coming because, we made the original Acela, and that's been a hugely successful model from the moment we first brought it out to right up until today. It's something that we still continue to produce because it's just such a popular model. Obviously this is a very different looking model from that one. So there are going to be some differences in the way it's put together. But the thing is, it's going to be the same kind of set. So we're going to start with a starter set, which is going to be the two cab cars, or I guess power cars. There's going to be one unpowered car, and then there's going to be one powered car on the other end. And we're going to have the three basic cars, which will make up basically the base train. It'll give you one of each car. So you'll have the first class car, then you'll have the cafe car in the middle, and then you'll have one of the standard business class cars. And unlike the first Acela, which is 6 cars, this one, the real one, I believe, is actually it's built to carry about 30% more passengers. Hopefully, I've got that number right, but it's a long train. It's actually a 9-car train, and again, unlike the original Acela, it's not quite like a normal train. At least in this country, I know in Europe there's a few more trains like this. So the biggest difference between the old Acela and this one is that most of the cars have shared trucks between them. So when you have the end car and then the next car, the end car has one truck on one end, which is independent, and that connects to the power. Those coupled like a normal train to the power car. On the other end, they have one truck, which then connects to kind of a pivot on the next car, and the next car doesn't have a truck on that side. So these cars can only run in this consist with these trains. And we want to be able to give you the whole set. So that would be a lot for one train set, 9 cars and 2 power cars. Probably most people won't have room for that on their railroads. So what we're going to do is, and we kind of did this with the first Acela set too, is we're going to have the set, which will feature the power car, the power car on each end, and then the 3 cars in the middle. And that's going to come with our new concrete tie track. This is actually going to be only the second set available with the new concrete tie track. And we're pretty excited about that too, because it replicates the kind of track that you really see on the Northeast Corridor where these run. And but what we're going to have in addition to that is we're going to offer all the other cars to make up the rest of the 9-car set as separate sale items. And the one thing that I should note about that is that they won't be able to run independently. They won't be able to sit on the track on their own. They will have to be connected to the set because of the shared truck kind of style that they are. But we will be offering all the cars, and if you have space on your railroad, it'll be a really, really cool looking train.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I mean, really stunning. I mean, this photo just doesn't do it justice. And it's really interesting because if you travel all around the world, whether it be Spain, London, France, all these different countries abroad, they have these high-speed trains that actually resemble this with the nose, and they're made for high speeds, and it's just unbelievable. So it's really cool to see Amtrak kind of update and modernize and get up to speed and high speed with all these trains. And to do this train is just awesome. I think a lot of railroad fans are going to be really amped up for it. Personally, it actually resembles, I believe, the Renfe over in Spain, but with the nose and everything. But there's also a lot of different. Yeah, it looks stunning, really beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things about it is, the Northeast Corridor, obviously, it's only a portion of the country, but I think it's such a cool looking train that no matter where you are in the country or, even the world, you're going to probably want one of those if you're a modern passenger modeler, because it's just like you said, it's unlike anything else.
Yeah.
And this is really the cars are going to be lighted LED. The locomotive you mentioned, the one is powered. It's got, doesn't it have the ability to switch back and forth if you want to do pantograph power? That's always something on electrics people ask. Can you really power them from above?
That is something that we plan to feature in this. We have that in our ACS 64 locomotives, and we have that in a lot of our other electric locomotives. So that's something that we definitely want to include in this as well.
Wow. And you talked about that concrete tie. It's not actual concrete.
Of course.
It's a new.
That'd be a little heavy.
A little heavy, but that that would be good to put down on the carpet. I wouldn't have to worry about it taking off on me. But yeah, that's the concrete ties, which is that modern style, and the Easy Track has now been molded and done, so it has that look, which is a really awesome thing, as you say, because all the high speed stuff works on that. So really awesome that Bachmann made that extra Easy Track style.
And I should point out that the ties aren't just repaints of the ties on our standard Easy Track. They're actually indented and shaped exactly like the real concrete ties as well. So it's not just a repaint; it's a total rework.
Wow. And I see a couple of questions coming up. Bill wants to see it in N scale already. Well, Bill, it's in HO for now, but hopefully Bachmann will have something lined up their sleeves in the future. And hopefully, I know this is going to be a very successful launch. So hopefully they'll consider it. And then I also saw a comment about someone saying that it has track and power and they already have that stuff. But Bachmann's pricing on starter sets, they make it really affordable to get into the hobby. So usually the track and transformer are kind of throw-ins for the set. So I challenge you, and I see one comment, and maybe some other people had some thinking. Maybe just give away the transformer and track to a kid in the neighborhood and get someone into trains. It comes with it, and you may not need it. You already have it, so get someone into the hobby. It's always a great thing to maybe make a donation or get a kid make them happy and get them into trains. So it may be a nice thing to do.
That's what we like. We like getting people into trains.
Without a doubt, but it looks neat, Tony.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, I kind of like that. The duck bill look of its nose of this new one is, yeah, that's a very cool train. It was a big, exciting announcement, and there's a lot more Amtrak stuff that Bachmann's got in this package as well. But this is certainly the highlight, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. And just before we move on from this, I should also mention that this is going to come DCC sound ready, so it's not going to have a decoder in it. But it's going to be ready. So all you need to do is slot one in yourself and you'll be ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. And it's also because it's a starter set, it wants to be at a certain price point. But if you want sound, I'm sure there's probably going to be a decoder for it that you could add on. So that's good.
All right. So I'm ready to move on to the next one if you are, Ken.
All right.
So we are continuing. Actually, we're continuing with Amtrak first. So that's a little bit of a preview of what we're going to after the next Amtrak locomotives. Oh. But we're going to we've got the two new ACS 64s, which we're adding to the line as well. And people are pretty excited about this. We, as you can imagine, from the day that the Phase 3 Train Sim World 2 locomotive came out in reality, we were inundated with people saying, when are you going to make this model? Are you going to make this paint scheme? Is it even possible for you to make this paint scheme? Well, we're happy to say that, yes, it was possible. We had fantastic cooperation from Dovetail Games that produces the Train Sim World series. We had cooperation from Amtrak, as we always do, fantastic cooperation from them. And it's going to become a reality thanks to everybody involved. And, we have people asking, are we going to be able to have the all the logos on the real thing? Because there's a lot of stuff on there. There's the Xbox logos and the PlayStation logos and all that stuff. And it's kind of interesting watching the discussions, people kind of wondering, are we going to be able to make it exactly as the prototype looks? And again, Dovetail Games was incredibly helpful with that. They were able to secure all the necessary approvals for that, and we're able to actually have it exactly as it looks in reality. So everything on there is all the lettering, all the logos, everything is what's on the real locomotive. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's a beautiful electric too. That model, this model has been out before, but this is a new run with these paint jobs, and it is a fantastic, all the detail across the top and everything. It's an amazing piece.
Yeah,
it is.
And the pre-orders are so strong on that train sim. It's seems like everybody knows what it is and or plays that game, I guess.
If you're a model railroader, there's a chance you're going to be playing that game too. I know I'm one of them.
Well, they got a good portion of the name, so it's it sounds good.
And then, of course, we also have the 600, which is above that there, and that's from the side. It's the standard Amtrak paint scheme, but on the front, the one big difference is this one was actually named after one of Amtrak's former presidents, David L. Gunn, and it has a little inscription of his name on the front, and well, actually on both cab fronts on each end. So it's a small variation from the scheme that we have on our regular line of ACS 64s, but for any Northeast Corridor modeler, it's one of those must-have models.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually have we don't have a sample yet for the 662. We're still working on that one. But I do have a sample to show here of the 600 to kind of show you a little bit more of how that looks. So the side, obviously, this is the regular Amtrak scheme. This is what you've seen on our previous models. And if you look right here, so there's the name there, David L. Gunn. And I know whenever I go to Railfan on the Northeast Corridor, for some reason, this always seems to be the first locomotive to come along. So I have to get one of these.
Very neat.
All right. So I think we're ready to move on to the one that we kind of showed a little preview of there a second ago.
All right.
Oh, and I should mention also that these ACS 64s also, they come with all the standard features. They're TCS WOW sound equipped. They have the Keep Alive capacitor in them, and they're ready to go on your layout. They'll work in both DC and DCC.
And that's the same sound that's in that new Charger. And boy, Ken, you know that the Bachmann Charger with the WOW sound. Remember the show we did on that, where they went out to Pueblo to the test track with the train control system guys and recorded all the sound. That is a beautiful piece, and the sound and the lighting in that is just amazing. So really awesome.
Yeah, the Charger that I have on my layout is absolutely, it's the loudest locomotive I have, which is a good thing.
Very cool. All right, on to some BL2s.
Yes, so the BL2, this is, in the Railfan world, this might be considered somewhat of a controversial locomotive. It's one of those, you either love it or you hate it kind of things. And, from our perspective as a manufacturer, that's a good thing, because it's gonna create discussion. If you have one of these on your railroad, it doesn't look like anything else that you'll have. It's got that streamlined styling, but it also kind of looks like a switcher. And the interesting thing about the prototypes is that they didn't sell all that well in reality, but they made it to a lot of railroads across the country. And as you can see here, I mean, this is just a few examples. We got roads from the Midwest, from kind of the Southeast and or the Mid Atlantic, and then kind of the Northeast a little bit there as well. And it's just a unique locomotive, and it's one that we haven't seen in HO scale for a while. We've never done one before, and I believe there hasn't been one in at least 15 to 20 years or so.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, very much so. It's an odd duck, and as Matt was saying, it's EMD who built F units and built Jeeps, and this is kind of the missing link between F units and Jeeps. That they made they made one BL1, and then there's like 58 or 59 BL2s, and it didn't sell that well, but it is so important in that it is how we got to the locomotives, for the first and second generation, and getting away from like cab units for freight. So it's a real landmark piece, and there's a bunch of them preserved. If you want to see one, what is it, Matt? That there's a Monon, I think, in Kentucky, and in fact, I think that might be a preserved one that's well after they were running. There's one at the one museum in Baltimore, Maryland. There's some of the Bangor and Aroostook. I mean, again, for only about 60 built, there's about half dozen or more that are still around today. So as the odd ducks often are, it's a favorite for a lot of folks. So yeah, when this was announced, it was wow, this is going to be cool. And I've had lots of emails and feedback on people asking about it. Because again, as Matt said, we've not seen, in fact, historically going all the way back, there's only been a couple of plastic. AHM had one that was a very basic model way back about 1970. And then the early Proto 2000, which again is late 80s and has never really been revisited. So a BL2 is a piece we've not been able to buy as modelers for quite a while. So I'm excited, and this will be all new tooling for Bachmann as well.
And this will be the first, I believe, the first BL2 ever to arrive with DCC capability as well.
Yes, yeah.
And quite honestly, there's nothing recent that's ever been done like this. I don't even know what has been BL2 and HO, but you have to go back to the HO collector series and wipe out the dust. But this is going to be brand new. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable. Most people don't have it on their layouts. It's really unique, different, and I think it's going to turn heads for sure.
Now here's some, that one Monon picture was a Kevin U. Daly picture that I shared with Matt, and I've got a couple, that one. Then these others that I have here are a few other pictures. Again, it's such an odd piece, but here it is, Chesapeake in Ohio, which is one of the road names that Bachmann's going to do. And there's Jeeps on both sides of it that we're familiar with. And again, that's the odd look of it, of trying to turn kind of an F unit into a Jeep. And there's one, the back end of it, with what looks like your new tank cars there, Matt, that it's working with.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then a Rock Island one. The Rock Island one's got the steam generator up here. I think they were the only ones that had, or they had the BL1. But it's just such a, there's certain models, Ken, and you know this from selling trains forever, that there's just certain things that catch guys' eyes. And they, it's like, that's an odd beast. I got to have one of those. And this BL2 certainly is that, most definitely.
I'm pretty sure.
Go ahead. So to kind of circle back to what you were saying also, Tony, about how many are in preservation, there's actually the Western Maryland one that we have here in the line, number 81. This is actually, is it number 81? No, it's number 82 that we're running. Sorry about that. So they only had two. They had 81 or 82, so I can't go that wrong. But 82 is actually still running today in freight service as well. It's the railroad that it runs for. They do excursions with it, but they also occasionally run it in revenue freights. So even though these were like we were saying, they weren't hugely popular and successful when they first came out, amazingly they're still around today, not only in preservation but also pulling revenue freight as well. Yep. So if you model a layout, set today, set in the 50s and the late 40s, you pretty much have a place for a BL2.
And I love those paint schemes. The early, I mean, the black and gold Monon, the Fireball, Western Maryland, the Rocket Freight, Rock Island, that C&O with the blue bands at the bottom there and the silver. Again, this is one of those, when I saw them, it's like, okay, I got to have them all. Not even which one do I think I'll get? All of them. All of them.
And we are getting a lot of comments and different road names or paint scheme requests, and I do see the questions, and I'm sure Bachmann is well aware of all the paint schemes that the BL2 and even the ACS 64 have been made. So, unfortunately, train manufacturers can't make every single paint scheme in one run.
As much as we would love to.
Yeah. So just be patient. And I know the paint schemes everybody's asking for, and I'm sure Bachmann does as well. And they do look at the comments. So if not, they will circle back and make sure it gets done on a future run if it's possible.
Absolutely.
And Gerard wants one in N scale too. So Matt, you're gonna have to think about these N scalers on all this good tooling and even G scale. They want it in G scale too, which I think you guys actually made it in Williams a while ago. And
that's correct. Yes.
Yeah, that was a good seller.
Yeah. So we had it in Williams, and who knows what the future holds for it.
Cool.
So that kind of concludes our HO scale locomotive announcements. So we're going to move on to passenger cars now, if you're ready. Again, this is something that we kind of gave it a soft announce. I think in about 2019, we put out a general announcement that we were doing a bunch of products licensed for Siemens, and I believe these cars were I don't know if they had the name venture cars yet at that point, because they're still under production in reality now. But people knew pretty much knew they were coming, and we're excited to announce they are officially joining the line now. So what we're doing right now is we're starting with the Amtrak Midwest cars, and they have currently in service. They have the coach cars. I know we've had people ask already. Are you going to do the cafe cars? Are you going to do the business class cars, or any other cars that join the lineups for these trains? And the answer is, at this point, right now, these are the only cars that are in service. There's a possibility of doing those in the future, but I don't think they're even under production yet at this point. So we can't really move forward with the model until we've seen a prototype. So right now we're doing the coach cars for Amtrak Midwest. We're doing 4 different road numbers. So you should be able to create a nice consist there. And then, of course, we're also doing the Via Rail Canada complete train consist. So we announced the SC42 Charger locomotive in our 2022 catalog, and that's the Canadian version of the Charger. And this will be the consist that goes with it, and it's actually the full length consist. So we have the coach cars, then we have the business class cars, and then we have the cab car. And the cab car is something I'm really excited about, because this isn't just going to be a standard car. I mean, all the cars, so all of these cars, both Amtrak Midwest and Canada, are going to be, Via Rail Canada, are going to have interior lighting. They're going to have furnished interiors. We're going to try and keep them as realistic as we can. We're going to go a step further with that cab car, because that's actually going to have DCC on board, not for movement. It's not going to be motorized or be able to run on its own, but it's going to be able to have working lights. It's going to have working flashing ditch lights, and it's going to have sound as well. So we're going to have the ability to you'll be able to blow the horn if you're running with the cab car first, and it's going to be a really nice interactive model.
Very cool.
It actually does look like the Brightline. HO Scale Railfan said you guys need to do the Brightline, but it actually does kind of look like it. It's close enough, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
And just so everybody knows, the pricing has been trickling out. Some of these do say price to be announced, but we have been updating our website as much as possible. And Rich is probably gonna tell me to stop pestering him one of these days, but we constantly ask about the pricing, and as soon as Bachmann gets it, we try to update our website. So they are coming in, and I believe we already have these passenger cars listed up on our site, so check that out.
So I think we're moving on to freight cars next. We're going to stay in HO scale here. Now these cars are pretty cool. So these are the new chemical tank cars. And before we go any further into them here, I actually have a couple of samples, because we don't just announce things and then start production on them. Often we're announcing stuff, at some point in the production process or in the development process. So in this case, we already have these painted samples. And the cool thing about these cars is we're not just doing one type of car. So they're both chemical tank cars. They both have a lot of the same characteristics, but in reality, freight cars are rarely, you rarely have a couple of cars that are the same. So we're doing 2 different variations here that have slightly different features, and those are, I'm trying to see if I can get it in the light here. So on the domes here, you can see there are 2 very different dome styles, and what we've done is we've chosen cars that have the correct dome style for each of these for all 4 of the paint schemes. So we have the correct dome style for this car and this car, and it's going to just add that extra level of detail. It's not going to be just we're not just doing one car with multiple paint schemes. We're trying to keep it a little more realistic.
Cool, very good. You had a good picture here of. I actually thought that was the real thing. I think that's the model.
That is the model, yeah. I believe it's actually the same model as this one.
I thought that was a high-def Tony Cook rail finds. Very neat.
Those are neat looking. And those next couple, Ken, I think he's got the diamond chemicals that shows the other dome. Yes. Oh, there's the stoffer. Yeah. And what is, I think,
close up.
They're it's small and large dome. That's a small dome,
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, there's kind of the large one. Neat cars. I mean, with the walkway and the railings and everything, that's a fun car. And I like the paint schemes on all of them. I don't think you've shown the sugar one yet, Matt. You must not have it, but you've shown the Hooker Stauffer and the Diamond Chemicals, but that sugar one with the two little kids on it, I think is cool. I think that'll be very popular.
I think will be too, yeah. And one of the great things about these cars is they're really fun cars to model, because there's so many of these vibrant paint schemes. You know, these are just 4 that we ended up going with, but just going through the list is fun when you look through the reference material for these things. They're just fun cars.
Mm-hmm.
Really neat. And I actually really like the Hooker one, because Niagara Falls, New York.
Yeah,
beautiful.
And it's also such a cool paint scheme. I mean, you see that in a consist, and that'll just turn your head immediately.
Yeah. It's eye-catching, that's for sure.
So if we go back to the catalog here, I believe the next one on the list is the there we go, the transfer caboose. And this is something else, again, that we're really excited about, because again, it's something that there's not really much availability on the market of it right now. I can't right now, and I might be wrong, so I apologize if I am, but I can't think of any other HO manufacturer that currently has one of these available. So we're pretty excited to bring these out. We think they're going to fill a nice little niche in the market that's not really being covered right now. And they're great for so many types of operations, as well as looking cool and having nice vibrant paint schemes. You can tack one on the end of the freight train and it'll look fantastic there, but you can also use it for yard operations. And in reality, a lot of these were actually designed so they'd have a wide platform on each end, so crews could stand there and guide a train while it's being switched back and forth, and without the locomotive having to go around and then be at the other end of the train.
It's a fun functional car. I've got, there we go. I think yours is very close to this. Was like a Sedalia Shops or International Car prototype, and you're doing Mopac, and it was one of the roads that had a lot of them. But there's a nice picture that shows kind of the porches on each end. It's just a really neat looking thing. And as Matt says, a transfer caboose, for as common as they were, models are not as common. And so it is a nice for switching and running locals and other things on your railroad. It's a very useful piece to have, which is always fun too.
Absolutely.
And the paint schemes are nice, and it's something unique, different, you know?
Yeah, and that's another one of the great things about these cars, a lot like the chemical tank cars. You look through the prototype references for these, and there's just so many interesting paint schemes for them. You know, it's not just all red.
Very neat.
So the next one I think might seem like it's coming from left field a little bit. And that would be our first ever HON 30 prototypical model. So HON 30, we don't market it necessarily as HON 30 on the packaging, but we have our Thomas narrow gauge HO scale line that runs on the N-scale track. And those locomotives and cars are based off of actually a real railway in Wales, which is called the Talyllyn Railway. And some of the locomotives and cars there are so accurate to that railroad that it just made sense that we did some prototypical versions as well. So we're starting here with the Talyllyn locomotive itself. This is the locomotive that's named after the railroad. I believe the locomotive is named after the railroad and not the other way around. And it was the first locomotive on the line, so it just made sense that if we were going to do one, this is the one we would do. And we're doing 3 different paint schemes from 3 different generations of it here. So it's the same locomotive. The thing with the Talyllyn Railroad is there's no 2 locomotives alike on it. So while we would love to have lots of different variations, it's a new market. So we're testing it out with 3 different paint schemes, prototypical paint schemes of this one locomotive, and I think they're all cool enough looking that I personally would I'd want one of each.
It's such a fun concept, Matt. In fact, you talked about this being new. My proofreader, as they were going through the news stuff, said, "I think you made a mistake here. You said HON 30." And that it runs on, and I'm like, no, yeah, it's right. But they were convinced that I had lost it in writing that up. I think you meant, and it's like, no, it is. It's 1/87th proportion, so they're HO equipment, it runs on in-scale track, so it looks like it's narrow gauge, which, you know, is a fun thing for a regular railroad. You could put this together to have it be like, you know, a connector or a mining type railroad that comes up to your regular railroad or logging railroad. It opens up a whole lot of neat stuff that it's fun to see this. Just as exciting as ON30 is for the O-scale guys, to have this for HO is a real, oh, wow, that is an interesting concept. So this is a fun thing.
Yeah. And one of the things about this also is that, you know, they're a British prototype, but kind of like you said, you can adapt them to really any sort of narrow gauge use. So if you have a US layout, but you want a 2-foot gauge mining railroad on that, this locomotive will fit perfectly for that. Maybe you might want to get rid of the British rail striping or something like that, but it'll lend itself perfectly to that role.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, because this is obviously a newer type product, and a lot of people who are in N scale or HO may get a little bit confused, or ON30. So these trains will run on N scale track, just to clarify out there, and they will have European couplers. So if you're thinking that it's going to be the American knuckle coupler, it will not have those. They're based off of the European or the UK railroad specifically, so they're going to be more prototypical with the European not hook and loop, but European coupler system. And but if you're looking at the engines, Bachmann does make more stuff that can line up with it as well. They do make some HON 30 freight cars and rolling stock that are for Thomas the Tank, but they very easily could be the same, you know, interchangeable, and you wouldn't even notice. So there's a lot of N scale stuff, and it's the same couplers that they'll couple up with. So just keep that in mind.
The passenger car that you actually have on the screen there, on your store, that one actually, the red one there is actually it's correct for the Thomas series, the 77205. So it's actually correct for the Thomas series, but it's also correct for the Taliflin Railway. It's actually the real scheme that they use. So you can already purchase those cars and run the locomotive with it, and you'll have a pretty prototypical looking consist.
Very neat.
All right, so now we're into kind of what we were just talking about. We're into the Thomas section. And again, this is something that, you know, some people might say, you know, this is a little out of left field too with Bo. He's a pretty minor character, but he's a US locomotive. So, you know, how could we not do him?
Yeah.
And just a cool looking model too.
Yeah, it's very unique, and for the Thomas fans, we actually have Bachmann and Doug coming on Tuesday, and Bachmann is doing so many new announcements for Thomas and Friends, and Thomas and Friends is not just for, you know, young kids; it's for all ages. Everybody's into Thomas and Friends, and Bachmann is actually making it cool and unique, where, you know, it's collectible, and they're really beautiful trains, and people display them, or put them on their countertops, or even make whole layouts of it. And so it's really neat that Bachmann is coming out with all these different characters, and especially with the Wooden Series line, there's no new products or no new announcements or characters coming out, but Bachmann just keeps on rolling out all these new characters, so it's really refreshing to see.
And a perfect example, one of the newer characters that we are introducing is Rebecca. She's I'm not sure. So my Thomas knowledge isn't fantastic, I'm afraid, but her debut was at some point since I believe since they moved from models to CGI animation. So within the last 20 years or so, possibly even sooner. And she's a pretty integral locomotive to the series now. She appears, I think, in a lot of episodes, and it's one of those models that if you're going to have the whole line of characters, she's going to be one of the ones you're going to have.
Without a doubt. And we actually just got pricing on, I believe, both engines now. So we have those listed up, and that would be an announcement for Tuesday that the pre-orders are starting to kick and go. But really neat, nice stuff.
And then we're also bringing out the you've seen these before in large scale. We're bringing these to HO scale now. The Mr. Jolly's Chocolate Factory box fan and the Brendan Bay Shipping box fan. And the Mr. Jolly's Chocolate Factory, I'm sure for Thomas fans they'll know that's a pretty iconic scene. It involved a whole line of these cars, and you know, we wanted to be able to allow you to make that on your layout if you wanted to. Right. And the Brendan Bay Shipping, it's just, I think it's a cool looking paint scheme, and it's going to look nice on a consist with those cars or with any other Thomas cars. Right. And then a brand new car that we haven't really we haven't talked about this before in any other scale. This is the narrow gauge gondola. This is something that I believe is from the quarry, which the name of the quarry is escaping me right now, but this is something that will be perfect for adding to your narrow gauge. So we talked about the prototypical narrow gauge HON 30. This is going to be the same scale as that, and it's going to go with the Thomas narrow gauge stuff. And again, it could also work with the if you wanted to go with the more prototypical Welsh narrow gauge stuff, it'll work for that too. And that's going to be available in 3 paint schemes.
Very neat. And I guess so, along with the Thomas scheme, Tony, do you want to talk about the Thomas article that you guys have written up, or you want to do that later?
We did. I can show that. That's in December's Model Railroad. Is it in December? Or is it? No, I think it's in November. Model Railroad News. I get confused. You know, that I'm always a couple months ahead. This is Justin Sobeck and his son Jax over in the St. Louis area, our big N-scale modelers. So the N-scale Thomas stuff has been huge for them. And this is the new James the Red engine, and that's in our November issue that's out on newsstands now, and we review it. It's amazing what's packed into these, Matt. I took that one apart here at the bottom for the photography, and I was able to get it back together. I'm always so happy when I don't have to send it to the reviewer going, oh, and you need to put it back together because I took it apart and I couldn't get it back together or I didn't have time. But it was very easy to work with. But you see the nice little motor and everything set up in there. It's a fantastic little unit, and it ran very well for us.
I tell you, that song is so catchy. Make way for James. Make way for James. It is the catchiest song. And Christian, who helps us out, he's a Thomas fanatic. He loves Thomas, and he's really a great guy. But he plays this song, and he's putting the music together, and it's like you can't get it out of your head. You're just singing it all night. So when I saw that article that you guys had in Model Railroad News, I was laughing hysterical. I was like, here it goes again. I'm gonna have it all night.
It's in your head all day.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
So one of the big things from this year is 2022 is actually the 75th anniversary of Plasticville. It's actually predates, I believe it predates all of our model train lines themselves. It was the very first foray into the model railroading, so to speak, business that the Bachmann ventured into back in the late 1940s. And, we want to recognize that. These models have been a constant crowd pleaser throughout the years. We still have a massive line of Plasticville buildings available now in O scale and HO scale and some in N scale as well. And with these, we're kind of paying tribute to some of the early models by we're going to be basing these off of the original artwork for these models. So the way they appear in these images is the paint scheme that we're going to have on these buildings when they come to market.
I love the artwork done for these. I think in the new HO collector, I've got like a half a page.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Showing these 4 because this is such classic, product artwork for this line, as you say, is it predates, this was the first Bachmann stuff. It's out as Matt was saying about 1950-ish is when they land OS, HO, and Bachmann as we know it today with its full line of all the different model train things. N-scale doesn't come along till 68, and the full line for HO is like 70, 71. So for, a good almost 20 years, this was Bachmann in the hobby was Plasticville USA kits. And boy, they're enduring popularity. I mean, 75 years. And Matt, these are still, when someone starts a layout, I'll guarantee you there's a Plasticville something. Gas station, house, motel, station, all of that stuff ends. I mean, I remember having tons of them. I collect them, they are fantastic pieces, for
I
as
think
far as hobby history.
One of the things about them that's helped them endure for so long is their ease of construction. They're so simple to put together, but they look fantastic when they're done. And a lot of them are based off of real architecture, real examples from real pieces of architecture, and you can easily modify them from being the base kit that they are to pretty much anything you want. You can weather them up, and even with just a little bit of work, it'll look just as good as some of the the more expensive kits that are available.
They're really neat. Now this group, there's HO, and I think, let me scroll to the next. I think there's large scale too, aren't there? Some O that'll all be in the 75th anniversary packaging.
So we
if
will
you
have
want
O scale as well.
Yeah, if you want to collect these will be the 4, right? There'll be these 4 for HO, and then I forget if there's 4 for O. But as far as, okay, I want to collect the 75th anniversary collection, this is what you'd be after, is the 4 HOs. And again, I think we see them in a bit, the O ones as well, and they'll all have special packaging.
Exactly, yes.
Which, that always gets me, Ken. See, look at that. They put them in a special box. They do, they got me. That's too cool. It's like, yeah, I got to have those.
Box or no box, they would have had Tony.
We've sold at least one. We're happy with that.
And this, oh my gosh, when the HO1 came out, Ken, what did everybody keep saying? Make this an N, make this an N. Are you going to make this an N? Here you go. Here, and even with, look at that, DCC and wow sound.
Yep, these are going to be these are actually going to come with pretty much all the same features that are on the HO scale models. Wow. The only thing that is going to be a little bit different about these is just because of the proximity of the well, actually, it's not on these; it's the SC44 versions. But the proximity of the strobe lights on top of the SC44 chargers. These ones here don't have strobe lights, but they have the proximity of them to the number boards means that we can only light one or the other. So that's the only difference from the HO. These ones, I believe, they don't have that feature. So these pretty much should have all the same lighting and sound features that the HO models have.
Beautiful.
And it's for sure going to be a winner. Yeah.
For HO scale, it was the hottest thing. I mean, it hit during COVID. Everybody was buying this engine, and it's just gorgeous, something totally unique. And you guys did such a great job with this. It was really unbelievable. In the HO version, they had the corridor work lights. And so you're saying that in N scale, you're going to have that as well?
These will have the corridor work lights in them. Yep, and we'll even have just like in the HO, you'll be able to see the motor behind it as well.
That is such a cool feature, and because it is on the real ones too. When you see them go by, it's wild how you can look into them and the lighting and such. So it's awesome. The model has that too.
Yeah. It's a feature I've never seen on any other locomotive before, but it's cool. It works for it.
And you've shared pictures of these, haven't you, Matt? I mean, these are illustrations here, but I think I've seen on the Facebook posts at least early shots of some of the tooling, right? This is coming along for folks wondering, well, when will it be out and how's it coming as far as release time?
Yeah, so we can't give you a specific date of when it's going to arrive at this point, but what I can tell you is that we have early pre-production samples. We don't have painted samples, but we have pre-production samples which we've showcased on our social media. And we have an operating sample, so we're getting there, and we're hoping to have these very soon.
Wow!
And of course, the other thing to note about these is these will be our first ALC 42 models with the Phase 7 paint scheme, which that again is just so cool, and it fits these models so nicely.
They really look awesome, yeah. And the day one, I know Ken will tell you that 301, that black day one unit was huge, when it came out in HO. So N scale guys, don't wait around on getting that ordered.
That's it. It's a good time to be an N scaler.
Absolutely. So yeah, and continuing in our N scale locomotive range, we're also going to be bringing a ST40-2 to the line. This is a model that it's probably one of the most popular road diesels in America. There's nowhere you can go in this country where you're not going to run into an ST40-2. Pretty much all the major railroads have them. A lot of the minor railroads and short lines have them. And I think we actually had one in our line many years ago. But this is a total completely different model from that one. This one is all new tooling. This is going to be something that's from the ground up, and we're building it to our current standards, and it's going to be a really nice model.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very sharp. Yeah, DCC and sound, and yeah, here's some pictures. Again, this is one I shot in Kansas City in the last year. So yeah, these are still, as Matt says, SD40-2s are introduced in '72 by EMD and sold like crazy. All the railroads bought them, and there's still examples of them around today. That should be a very popular piece, I would think, for you, Matt, to have that with DCC and sound in N scale as a new model.
Absolutely. It's one of those locomotives that you just can't go wrong with. And like you said, it's been around since 1972. So you've got a good 40, 50 years worth of modeling space to bring those into as well.
Very neat.
So I think we have some N-scale freight cars here. So these have been these are fun cars. This is, we're departing a little bit from the the super prototype stuff that we have with the SD40s and the LC42s, but model railroading is fun. You got to have fun while you're doing it. And we've had these cars in HO scale for a couple of years now, and they've proved to be immensely popular. And we're bringing them to N scale, and we also have them in large scale as well, I should mention.
Yeah. And so everybody knows the features. Basically, the whether it's a horse or a reindeer, the heads bob back and forth in the stock car, and it's really cool. It's unique, it's different, and it's animated for the holiday season. So it's really nice to see.
Yeah, it adds that little bit extra layer of life to your trains. If you have a stock car train, you don't just have to imagine that there are animals moving around in there. You actually can see them.
Yeah.
Those are fun cars, and neat to see it come to N scale. Yeah.
I think, Matt, you should propose one of these stock cars with Tony's head in one side and my head on the other side.
Buy trains would be on the billboard.
That would be a great featured article.
I like it. So going alongside those, we're also doing a non-animated stock car. So just a standard stock car. This doesn't have the animated animal heads. It's something we haven't had in N scale for a while. We did offer these in the past, and we figured it's time to add that back to the line. It's one of those cars that you kind of just need to have in your line. If you're going to have a bunch of different N scale cars in your train, a stock car's got to be one of them.
Very cool. And so all those stock cars were just announced, but they show shipping in 2023, so sometime next year.
Sure. And also these images, I should just mention, I don't know if it'll come up on the screen, but those are all HO scale models. We don't have samples yet, but I can assure you, as soon as we do, I will be getting those on social media. So these are our drop-in gondolas. This is, again, something that's been very popular in HO scale. Well, actually, they've only just come out in HO scale. These are slightly different road names. I believe we didn't do the Great Northern in HO. But what we're doing here is these are cars that have end gates that actually move backwards and forwards. So you can move the gate down. And what they were for is, I believe, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I believe these were for is they were for loads that were a little bit longer than one car could take. So exactly, if they couldn't fit it in that car, they drop the end gate down and the load goes over and overlaps into the next car.
Exactly. Yeah, you could put like an idler flat car on either side, and whether it was like beams or poles or whatever, could you drop the end, and then you get that little extra room. And yeah, this is I remember when this got the announcement hit on this, and this is the HO car is a beautiful car, and so this is its first time in N scale. Is that correct, Matt? Because I kept meaning to ask you and never did, but this is an all new piece for N, so this will be a nice car, 52-foot. Rib side gondola, so great car for carrying loads and having the doors at the end that you can raise and lower. That's nice.
Absolutely, we're very excited about this one. And then kind of departing from rolling stock a little bit here, we're also bringing our easy track girder bridges into N scale. This is something that we started in HO. We brought some new road names out in that not too long ago, and they've been very popular, and you know, who doesn't need a bridge on their railroad? If you're if you just have a train set and you have one of our graduated pier sets, you can hook this up with that and give it a little bit more of a you know, authentic bridge appearance. Or if you're integrating it into a, you know, fully scenic layout, it'll look beautiful in that too.
They're really nice with the painting and the railroad name on them. Again, this was a neat concept when it hit in HO a couple years ago, so it's fun to see these coming to end. And it's an easy thing to fit in because a lot of bridge things to build them and try to make it work. This is just a piece of N-scale easy track. If you're wondering, like, well, what do I? Nothing other than just taking it apart and fitting it into a straight section on your layout. And, you know, yeah, you could make it more of a bridge if you wanted to, but it works just the same. So with a little imagination, it adds some fun stuff to your right of way.
And if you don't have our easy track, if you're running, you know, a different track system, these will also work with that too. You can just slot them in, just, you know, slot the rails together just like you would with any other track. And then we have our some N-scale Thomas announcements as well. So we're doing Gordon the Express engine. This is one that I think people are pretty excited about this one because this is our first large Thomas locomotive in N-scale. And you know, he's a big locomotive. He's the biggest on the island of Sodor, if I'm not wrong. So you know, we're going small here, but you know, since we're going small, we decided to go big.
Awesome.
And it's sorry, go ahead again.
I'm sure Christian will be fact checking your Thomas fact. So we'll find out Tuesday. We got to make sure Gordon's the biggest on Sodor.
You know, I'm thinking now. I think there's a character called Hero that might be a little bit bigger. So I'm probably wrong with that, but he's a big locomotive, and you know, he's a classic character, and he's one of those characters you just can't go wrong with.
Very neat.
And then we're also doing Toad, which is he's a brake van, which is you know, there are only a few cars that have faces in and you know, have storylines in the series, and he's one of them. So we decided, you know, that's a good car to do. You know, we need something for the end of the train. Why not have one of the characters as the brake van? And unlike you know, one of our British brands or one of Bachmann UK's brands, Graham Farish, they made a Toad brake van in N-scale, and we haven't used that. We haven't decided to just, you know, go with that model and paint it up as this. This is a from the ground up model, so this is as accurate to Toad in the series as we could possibly get.
It's nice to see the N-scale thing, or so much Thomas coming out in the end, because I think every dad or grandpa or whoever that's got a regular like your HO layout back there. I don't have an HO layout like that, Ken, and you don't have look, you put up that wall because you got no train layout, and look at the train layout that Matt's got. I'm really jealous of this tonight, but anyway, they've got a layout, and you know, the little ones want to run trains, and of course Thomas is always that first thing that they know, that's their prototype, and that they want to run that. So having that available in N, I know, as I say, for my one reviewer, Justin Sobek over in St. Louis, that for his son Jax is awesome because they're N-scalers, but you know, he loves that he's got some Thomas stuff now. So fantastic that that's available in so many scales now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we're moving here to ON30 scale, and this is a model that I'm actually pretty excited about because you know, it's a locomotive, it's a wheel arrangement, it's a design that we've seen before, but we've done a lot to this to make it an exciting new model. So this is our outside frame 280 consolidation, and this is the first time we've ever offered it with from the box US style configurations. This is a model that I believe the prototype could be seen in a lot of places throughout the world, particularly I think in South America, Central America, possibly in Africa as well. And it did run in the US as well, but we've never actually done an authentic US style configuration before. And what we're doing with that, we're bringing out with two road names, which have this type of locomotive in reality, which is United States Potash and the White Pass in Yukon. And in addition to that, we're also doing a painted and unlettered version. And this is going to come with a ton of extra features. So if you want to change the smokestack, if you want to change the length of the front of the boiler, it comes with all the stuff to configure it to make it whatever version of this locomotive you want to make it.
Wow, that's cool.
And this is also our very first locomotive with Tsunami 2 sound included as well.
Oh,
very nice.
That's right. Yeah, a lot of times the sound stuff is sold as a separate on some of the larger scales. Hadn't realized that. Yeah, it's got both ECC and
And one of the biggest operational features of it also is that it has metal gears now, which is going to be obviously nice. A nice advancement in operation.
I think I just bought 2 of the 460s. My assistant editor and I were talking about the ON30 stuff, and he does a lot of in-scale. I do a lot of HO. He says, you got some ON30. I said, oh, of course I got some ON30. I got a whole shelf of green Bachmann Spectrum boxes. And he's like, that's pretty cool stuff. I said, well, let's take a look. We get on Train World, and I don't know if you still have them, Ken. I think you do. Those ON30 460 steam locomotives, Ken is basically giving them away. So my assistant editor's like, well, I would like the green jacket boiler Rio Grande, and you could get that the Bumblebee scheme Rio Grande. And he's working on and putting DCC and sound and all this. So yeah, we've actually started dabbling in ON30 a little more seriously. And it's just such fun stuff. It runs on HO track. It's big O scale stuff to have and handle. It's a really neat scale.
It is, and the models look so good. I mean, it's hard when you work for Bachmann and you have to see this stuff every day. It's like, oh man, I model HO, but now I want an ON30 layout as well.
Yeah, there. Yeah, see, this is it. Can I get this like sent to me as a Facebook link? Well, look at this. Ken Jr.'s giving them away he's giving them away. You can't not get one. I'm like, all right, I'll get us. Yeah, I got us each one. But it's that's an amazing price.
These are great prices, and the best is with ON30, they run on HO track, and so if you're HO, modeler, this is a perfect scale to kind of get into with ease because you already have the track and you just start with ON30. And Bachmann is really a great manufacturer of ON30 products and probably one of the few that actually make the product. So they make a ton of different engines, rolling stock for it. So it's a really nice, neat line to get into. You can kind of make it in a separate section if you want to, or do it as a short line. So a lot of options there, but yeah, some really great prices that we have on the ON30 stuff. But and actually for total ON30, over 100 items, close to 150 items, and they make a ton of product, Bachmann, and some military stuff too, which is pretty neat. Some Army stuff.
It'd be a great Christmas. Everyone's always looking this time of year. They want to put a train around the tree, and that one you've got, Ken, for about $100 and some with the Lupa Easy Track. You could have a really great thing that you could have for your Christmas decorations, really reasonably. So no, that's awesome. That 260 in Christmas paint, I think, is awesome. Well, even that set. Look at the Norman Rockwell set there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that ON30. A lot of people come into the retail store during wintertime, and they want to do that department or village.
What is that? Because I don't know it. Matt? Do you know what that is? It's some collector thing, like ceramic.
Department 56.
Yes, Department 56.
Yes.
And people always use the ON30 trains to match up with it. I don't know why, but they always come in. They're saying, I'm doing a Department 56 village or display, and I need trains to run. I need the Bachmann ON30. And it's like the perfect size for it. And, this one's on pre-order, but they're coming out with a Christmas trolley. And this would be perfect for a Department 56 village. And this is a Christmas mogul. And the Christmas starter sets, as Tony mentioned, but yeah, you could get ON30 incorporated with your Christmas time village. And what's great about ON30 is it runs on the HO track like we spoke about, but it's that bigger size, so it kind of looks pretty impressive on a display, and it just pops out, and it'll match.
It'll fill out that space under your tree pretty nicely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Good stuff, Tony and Matt.
Oh, and then here's, yeah, we talked about these would be and they're slightly different. I think the cathedral's in both, but these other three, the O commemorative kits, are different selections, aren't they, Matt?
Yeah, so the cathedral is going to be something that we're going to be offering in both scales, but the other three kits are going to be totally different from the HO ones. So we've got the hobo shacks, the roadside stand, and the split level house, which that one I love because it looks like the houses in my neighborhood. It's one of those things that, like, you know, wherever you are in America, there's neighborhoods to look like that. And just like in the HO scale models, these are going to come out in the colors that the original illustrations have them in. So again, they're going to be fantastic collector's pieces, and you know, even if you're not a collector, they're going to look fantastic on an O scale layout or an ON30 layout. All right, so we are at large scale now, and this is another thing. This is something that, you know, I think a lot of people kind of speculated. You know, at some point we got to do this model, and we're doing it. It's the GP40. Kind of like the SD40, like in N scale. The GP40 is it's just one of those locomotives that you will see absolutely everywhere. I believe it's vintage. It's around the same as the SD40, but it's essentially the 4-axle version, right, Tony?
Exactly. Yeah. So this was the 1966 EMD, part of that group. This was their turbocharged 3,000 horsepower 4-axle, and then the SD40 followed, then the Dash 2s in 72. But immensely popular, and this is being done at 1/29th scale, because that's always the thing I get hounded by on large scale. Well, what size is it really? Because you know, there's some different proportions. So this is a 1/29th GP40, and it would match the same as, what's that new GE you've got that's just about out, Matt?
The Dash 9. Yeah, so this will be the same scale as the Dash 9. They'll look fantastic in consist together. And we're going to be offering some of the same road names as well. So if you really do want to run a consist of both locomotive types, you'll be able to do that.
And how's the power set up on those? Because I don't understand that as well. I see you can set it up for what, remote control. It's DC out of the box though, right?
Yeah, so it'll run on a standard DC setup out of the box. But this is something, I'm not a large scale guy, so we had our large scale experts work on this, and they'd be able to tell you probably a lot more eloquently than me how it all works. But essentially, it's customizable. So if you want to run DCC, you can install DCC on it. If you want to run RC, you can run RC on it. It has basically it has a plug and play setup that will allow you to put this stuff together. And I think some of it involves some wiring, but it's whatever large scale system you operate, this will be able to operate in some fashion on that system.
And it's got directional LED lighting, operating smoke, which is always cool on the large scale diesels. I always like that.
It's factory installed speaker too, with wire pigtail to allow easy operational aftermarket sound. Very cool. So it's got some neat features you could kind of upgrade if you wanted to.
And again, these are HO scale images here that we're just using as placeholders. But I think, Ken, you have a picture of our first prototype of the actual large scale model.
That looks nice.
Wow, that is nice.
When we were flipping before on the, was it HO or N scale engines, and by accident I showed this, I actually thought it was a real engine. Again, your models are making them seem like they're Tony Cook pictures.
That's what we like to hear. And the natural light helps with this as well, I think, as well. You know, this was shot outside, but you know, it's a very detailed locomotive, and we're very excited to see this one come to market.
That should be very popular. That's the garden stuff is, you know, it's big year round anymore, but you know, everybody's wanting to do some of that. And
is that raised layout?
So this is actually this is at the I'm going to forget the name of this place. It's an arboretum near us in Philadelphia here.
Beautiful.
They very kindly have allowed us multiple times to come to their large scale layout they have in their garden and do some promotional photos and videos and stuff of our trains there.
That's cool. I didn't even know
the Morris Arboretum.
Tony, we got to check that out. And
I would like to see that.
It's a very cool layout.
We'll stop by and meet up with Matt, and that sounds nice. I didn't.
We'll give you the grand tour.
Cool, cool, very neat. Looks beautiful. And I think you have some more pictures. That's the front. It looks really sharp and
Oh,
really
it looks
detailed.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously we got the locomotives. We got to have some 129 scale modern freight cars to run behind it as well. So we did announce our Evans box cars in our 2022 announcements.
Sorry, on the GP40s, there's some questions coming in. I guess time frame, or does it say shipping 2023 or still?
Yeah, so that one's a that's a 2023. You know,
Okay.
we're gonna do the best we can to bring it out in a timely manner, but it's
Okay.
it's not something that I can give a specific date on at this at this point.
Yep.
So we have actually, speaking of the Evans box cars, we have some new variations on the Evans box cars here. So the first ones that we announced last year, they had the end of train device on them, which is something we also offer in HO scale. And that's the little flashing red box. If you've ever seen a freight train go by that doesn't have a caboose on it, which most of them today don't have cabooses on them, sadly. They have this little red box, this little flashing box on the back with a little red light, and that's basically that's in place of the caboose. It's monitoring the I believe that, and again, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the brake pressure and stuff like that, right?
And it keeps, it's the EOT, the end of train device, and it has a red flasher. And I think it lets them know in the train that nothing's if anything comes uncoupled or you break air on between the cars, I think it goes into an emergency or lets you know. But yeah, it's kind of the de facto caboose since the late 80s, is those little EOT devices. And yeah, that was what that first group of Evans cars came with, that as an extra feature.
Yeah, and now these cars. So what we're doing with these cars is, we realize that not all of your cars are going to be at the end of the train. You don't want to just have one Evans box car at the end of the train. You're probably going to want to make a whole train of them. So we're doing this to allow you to do that. So we're bringing out Santa Fe, CSX, Norfolk Southern Railbox, which I believe were all featured paint schemes in the end of train device version as well. These are different road numbers, so they'll be able to run with them and not look like a duplicate of the same car. And then we're also offering two new versions as well, which are two Tropicana paint schemes. And I love anything Tropicana. I love, maybe it's because I live near where the juice train runs through.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But they've always had cool paint schemes. This one's pretty unique. The dark blue. They have the bright orange at different times. Now they have the white with the orange with the straw in it logo. And it's one of those nice brands that has just always been associated with railroading. So we're excited to add that to the line as well.
Those are they're great. I saw someone posted saying how the Santa Fe looks great, and I would agree. And boy, in G scale, the rail box and like the big Santa Fe with the large circle cross and the shock control labeling, these are amazing, eye-popping cars with the metal finish roof and then the colored sides. I mean, this is a neat looking car.
Beautiful cars. And great paint schemes too.
And then right here, this is actually one of the ones that we have with the actual product photos in the brochure here. So again, we started this one a while ago, and by the time the brochure came out, we already had samples, so we were able to put this in here exactly as it's going to look. And this is our Bethlehem Steel 100-ton hopper. Again, this is a car that we've offered in different scales before, and it's one of those cars that if you're modeling anything between the 1970s and today, it's one of those cars you're going to need, because you see these everywhere, or variations of these cars pretty much all over the country. And we're bringing Pennsylvania Power and Light, which is a really, really cool scheme. We're bringing CSX to the line, and then we have some actual photos on the Morris Arboretum layout here. And then we're also doing Norfolk Southern as well. And we're doing two road numbers for each, so you can create a nice consist. You can either have one of each road name, or you can essentially double the length of your train and still have individual road numbers.
Now I see this, but are you not making Union Pacific?
We are making Union Pacific as well.
Oh, okay, nice.
We are.
Oh, sorry.
I think that's actually that was just a little bit down the page there.
Tony's cheating everyone.
There we go.
He wants to keep all the G scale freight cars for himself.
Yeah, so we're doing these road names. They're all really popular road names. Pennsylvania Power and Light. That one's just such a cool paint scheme. We're excited to see these.
And this
Beautiful.
is new tool, right, Matt? This is a new freight car for Bachmann large scale.
So for Bachmann large scale, it is, yeah. Yeah, it's you know, the people in the know in large scale know the history of some of this stuff, but it's new for our line.
You guys are really going big into the G scale.
Absolutely, it's a big scale. You got to go big.
Well said.
So I believe, what do we have here? Yeah, so we got some Thomas editions in large scale as well. So we have two new additions here. We have Toby's Museum Coach and Toby's Museum Freight Coach. We actually just released those in HO scale last year. And the nice thing about these cars is they're authentic to the series, but they also look fantastic. And their paint scheme is pretty similar to some prototypical UK paint schemes as well. So whether you're a Thomas modeler or you're, just a large scale modeler in general, it's a nice car to have.
Yeah, and it's funny on those G scale passenger cars and the Thomas line, there's a lot of crossover for regular modelers, like the
Absolutely.
Emily's passenger cars.
Mm-hmm.
We were selling so many, and they weren't even Thomas fans, just people buying the passenger cars because they wanted to kit bash them or repaint them, or so it's really neat that you're getting a unique different car, and you could kind of doll it up however you want to. And a lot of G scalers like to either weather or repaint or do some neat stuff with it. So I think these will do very well like that.
I think they will, and the scheme is actually very similar to the Great Western Railway scheme in the UK. So it's as well as just being a nice car that can be used for Thomas models or prototypical scenes. It actually has a paint scheme that would work in reality as well. And then we've got Williams O Gauge too. We can't forget them. They are we're continuing to expand our Easy Street range. And this is something that I think is just a fantastic series because, we have the trains running on the tracks. When you have roads and cars just sitting there, it doesn't really add up. Like you've got these nice animated trains, and then you've got these completely static scenes. With Easy Street, you can change that. You can have the cars going along the roads, and you can have the trains on the tracks, and the whole layout is moving.
Yeah, and what's neat about the Easy Street vehicles that Williams makes, they could run on the easy streets or regular O gauge track. So if you have 3-rail track, whatever you have, and most people have O gauge track, you could put it on there and run them like with the train, or take the train off and run them on the rail, or you could run them on easy streets. So it has a lot of dual purpose, and these are really neat. The hearse is cool.
Yeah. So we're introducing three station wagon variations here. So we've got the hearse, like you said, we've got the ambulance, and then we've got the station wagon, just the standard, run-of-the-mill station wagon. And then in addition to that, we're also offering a starter track pack if you want to just get started with Easy Street. You're not sure if you want to, make a whole street grid yet. You want to just test it out, or if all you need is just a loop in the middle of your layout. This is the perfect set for that.
Tony, this is the perfect setup for you. Get your feet wet in the easy streets.
I gotta say, yeah, the station wagon caught my attention when I saw that it runs on the 3-rail track too. Yeah, I've got this in December's Model Railroad News, and yeah, I think the ambulance is kind of cool. That is a fun thing. Yeah,
cool.
And then this, I think, is going to be big. This because this is. When I get asked on DCC stuff a lot, this is where so many people start because they'll either get a train set or they buy this Bachmann Easy Command. And Matt, you guys are doing what this is a new like upgrade or plus version of that popular unit. So
this is going to replace the Easy Command system that we currently have. It's still Easy Command, but there are a lot of upgrades, like you said. So some of the differences in this. This one has 128 speed steps versus 28 speed steps on the old version. That'll allow you to have just more control over your models, have smoother operation, and it also allows you to control up to 29 decoder functions. So most locomotives, by and large, don't have too much more than that. So you'll have access to pretty much the whole range of functions that a model has through this. It's got a few other visual features that are a little different too. If you see that there's that little kind of lit up green bar there next to the control, that's kind of a speed indicator that'll give you an idea of where you are and how fast the model can go. And then when you're operating the model, and if something goes wrong, if your train derails, you can hit the stop button and everything will stop on the tracks. Or one of the new features on this is if you only want to stop the one train that you're in control of at that point and keep everything else running, you just push down the control knob and that'll stop that train.
Very neat.
And that's all handheld. Is it tethered, I think, right to the power supply?
Yeah, so this is a wired controller. But yeah, you can hold it in your hand. You can have it set up on a control stand. Whatever works for you.
And easy to get into. That's the one thing.
Very easy.
When I get asked about, I want to do this, but I think it's so complicated. It's like, well, then try this one, because look at that. There's not that many buttons. You can figure this out, and you can get up and going with this. So this is a great way to start on DCC, I think. Yeah,
some of those DCC controllers out there, they look kind of like scientific calculators, and this is approachable. When I first got started in DCC, I started with an easy command because it's just
easy.
Exactly. And it's just a great system. And another one of the nice features that I've always appreciated about it, this isn't the new feature for the Easy Command Plus, but I love the fact that you can add in you can write in the locomotives in the slots next to the numbers, and you can keep track of where your models are, what models you have associated with what number.
And for those that don't know, I know it runs HO. It'll do ON30, but can you run larger stuff with like a power amp?
Yeah,
something.
So you can run this, but you will with large scale. But you will need we have a separate power supply that you need to buy to give it the amount of oomph that it needs to run those larger models.
And Tony had a question, but I don't think you can run this with Williams. It's strictly N-G.
That's correct.
Possibly G, I guess.
Yeah. So if you see right there, it says the 5 amp power booster.
Oh, well, interesting. I didn't even know that. Wow.
And will these, I assume, so you say this is replacing the other, so the DCC, there's always a few train sets, both HO and N, at least.
They will all feature this version now.
This is going to start taking over. That's nice.
Yeah. I mean, it's a transition. You're not going to see them all in the stores right away, but this is, moving forward, this is what's going to be in the sets.
Oh, very good.
And I guess, Tony, just to the customer asking the question, I'm not sure. I think the Williams would have to have a DCC decoder in order to use it, which I think currently they don't. So technically, no, but it's possible to convert it.
Exactly. So. That's the perfect answer. Yeah.
And in the DCC, when we're talking about getting started in it, and this is in December's Model Railroad News, I review the Wow Sound editions of the Santa Fe, the FT, and the Rio Grande Jeep 35. And, the FT is known as the diesel that did it. And that's why I titled this review, The Diesel That Could Do It, because so many people say, I need something that, I want to get my kids started in DCC and sound, but I don't know much about it, or I don't want to buy something really elaborate. And these, I think, are real. The wow sound in them is fantastic. They're both very nice, good base models. The performance-wise, they did a great job. There's the shell off the Jeep 35. See, it's got a beautiful die-cast frame, twin flywheels, LED lighting. I mean, these perform great. They look good. I know you've got these, Ken. Both these are in stock right now at Train World. So if you've got a DCC railroad and you want to get a DCC sound equipped, get both for for a younger modeler for the holidays. I think this is, as I say, this is the diesel that could do it. That I really like both these. I thought they were solid releases.
And one of the great things about these is that they have all these features that you wouldn't necessarily expect in a locomotive that's suited to a starter audience. They have really nice sounds. They actually even have a capacitor in them. They have the keep alive device in them, which means that they'll keep running even if you have a little bit of gunk on your rails. If you have a little bit of a power, a little bit of a short in your power there for a second, it'll keep going. And especially for newer modelers, that's a fantastic feature to have.
Oh, exactly. I think I say that right at the beginning. The capacitor first, when you're starting out, it's always you don't have your track hooked up quite right, or you're not, it's the dirty rails and all that. That this is a very forgiving locomotive because of that capacitor keeping it going. So real problem free. I really like it. And the other thing I wanted to show was this train set. Oh, it's so cool. When this was announced, I love this 1947 Freedom train. And when I saw that you were putting together this train set, this is in November's Model Railroad News. And these are, I got this a handful of months ago, so I know they're out. And Ken, I think you've got them in stock at Train World as well. But this I thought was neat, because everyone's always looking for a gift that's also, I don't know why it has to be educational, but they don't want to just get a toy. They want it to be something that's going to, better, be better for the kid, or do this or that. And as I say, this puts American history in a train set, because you've got this was a train that toured in 1947, or that's what this is based on. And it's got these Norman Rockwell design things on the side. So again, it's a good starter train set. It's got the Lupa track. It's got the nice controller, knuckle couplers on everything. You've got the caboose, the car, and the locomotive. So it answers that, yes, here's a base starter set. But then there's also what's this stuff, and what are the images, or all this other thing. So if you're really into American history or that kind of thing, it's a fun other angle of it can help introduce that or bring that to somebody that you're trying to, again, kind of expand their knowledge or whatever. So I thought it was kind of a win-win as far as a base train set, and it looks so cool.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, even as an adult, when I was when we were working on this set and getting ready for release, it sent me down a rabbit hole of learning about this history, about the paintings, about the train itself, and just inspired by the set, I found out so much more about American history that even I didn't know.
And Tony, you also have a lot of good coverage of Bachmann trains in the Model Railroad News. And just switch lanes here a little. This is the current edition, but Bachmann's on the back cover with all these nice HO hoppers. And you also had a great article on the HO GP7s. Yeah, you forgot about that.
I forgot about those. Well, I got it in print, though. There you go.
That's right. I hopefully I'm not giving away the secret sauce.
No. That's that one's out. And if anybody wants to see, right now we're beta testing our new digital membership. So for free, you can become a beta tester for the new White River app, and you can select Model Railroad News as one of the titles, and you can look at this and a ton of back issues. So if you're shopping for a train set, you're shopping for new products, go to shop.whiteriverproductions.com, look on the tab for the digital membership, and you can download the app and be a beta tester. We're doing that for free, I think, into through the first quarter of 2023. So you can read all this stuff I've talked about, and all that won't cost you a dime. So
very neat. Very cool. All right. And we also, I guess we skipped over these. They must have been out of order, but these were the O-scale plastic bill kits that you had pictures on. So I just want to cover that real quickly. But
I love that artwork. Yeah.
Well, lots of stuff. And Matt, there were some other pictures. I'm not sure. Are we talking about that stuff, or
we are? Yeah. So
okay.
So we've come to the end of the NMRA catalog, but I wanted to also talk about some other stuff that has been announced previously. It's been in our catalog, but it's stuff that that's either out now or is going to be out in the not too distant future.
Okay.
So the first one is this. This is our HO scale 50 foot express reefer. These should be hitting the shelves of Train World and They should be available. I don't know if you guys have them yet, or if they're just about to arrive, but they're in the area. They're in circulation.
Okay.
And this is all new tooling. This is a brand new HO car from Bachmann. Yeah,
exactly, brand new tooling. And these cars were they're freight cars, but just give a little bit of a background on them. They're freight cars, but they actually ran in passenger trains. So the whole idea with them is that they were designed to get produce from one area to another as quickly as possible. And the best way to do that was on the priority passenger trains. So these had trucks that were built for higher speeds to go with passenger consists, and they're something that they look pretty cool.
They are, yeah, very neat cars. Yeah, exciting to see. This is something new in Bachmann's rolling stock line. I can't think of an express reefer like this ever being part of Bachmann's HO. So fun release. And yeah, everything new from the trucks all the way up to the roof walks, all new stuff.
Correct.
Is that your layout?
No, this is actually this is one of our layouts at
nice.
Bachmann HQ.
Very nice.
And then this is another car, which this one's on the way right now. This is the steel coil car, and we're really excited about this because this is a car that you can actually do stuff with. You know, a lot of cars, you know, they look pretty, but you can't actually carry the load with them, like a tank car. You can't carry the load with a tank car, and it probably wouldn't be a good idea on the layout anyway. But with these, what we're doing is we're actually producing the cars and the loads to go with them. So these include those steel coil loads, which you can see on the BNSF car there. They're completely removable. So if you want to have a scene where they're being loaded into the train, if you want to create some operations where they're being loaded at one place and then they're being delivered to another place, these cars will allow you to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, those are the steel cars like that were around from about the late 60s forward. You still see them today. The two hoods are both removable there, as Matt says, and then they come with the little gray round circles there are the coiled steel. So you get some real action there to actually be able to take things out of the car, put it back in, put the top on it. I mean, lots of play value there, and a great looking car. That's a fantastically well done little coil car there, Matt. I'm really excited. I can't wait to see those.
Yeah, we're very excited about these. And then probably one of the big ones here, both in size and in excitement, is our New York Central Hudson and HO scale. N scale modelers will know this came out in N scale not too long ago, and it's been very popular, and you know, we're very excited to bring it out in HO. And I actually have one of these samples here, so we have some photos of it here. But just to show you in person live a little bit here, here's the real deal. And
cool.
Yeah, this is an absolutely beautiful locomotive. It's one of those locomotives that it just looks so fantastic that, you know, whether you're a new New York Central modeler or just a steam era modeler in general, or even if you're not a steam era modeler, it's just one of those models that, you know, how could you say no to that detail?
It's a great prototype. It would be good if I ran a train store. I would use that locomotive as my logo and put it like, you know, maybe a globe, and put that Hudson, and then my Tony's train store over the top.
Yeah, you got the New York Central logo there. You could have Tony's train store right there.
That's right. I tell you, I'm glad that you picked New York Central. It's you know, right up my area, so I think we'll do pretty well, right, Tone?
Oh, I think that's going to be big. Yeah, that's a beautiful piece.
And something that's worth mentioning about it also, this is also DCC in sound, and it's got a die-cast spoiler here, so it's got a really nice weight to it.
Cool. Very nice.
And that's regular Bachmann, right? Not Spectrum.
This is not a Spectrum model, no, but it's an amazingly detailed model.
I mean, again, I know the quality's great on it, but as far if you're looking price wise, look it up on Train World. But I think you'll be surprised at what it sells for. That's an awesome piece, real classic.
Now, speaking of Spectrum, we do have a steam locomotive. We have this for New York Central fans, and then, you know, you got the old rivalry. You got New York Central, and you got the Pennsylvania. We can't do one without doing the other. And these are hitting stores now. Really we've got the DCC Wow Sound K4, and this is a Spectrum model. This is something we've done these models in the past, but this is the very first time we're offering them with DCC and sound.
Wow.
And these are beautiful models. We're actually we've got a video coming out tomorrow, I believe, which will cover a little bit more about these and the features. But they're really fun, and the TCS wow sound on them sounds fantastic. It's got a load-based chuff, so you know I've got a little 4% gradient. Which it's a compact layout, but I got a 4% gradient to get from one level up here down to the other. And when this thing hit the gradient, you could hear it start to work harder.
Oh wow, cool.
Very cool.
And that's an all-time classic. That K4, that's the first Spectrum steam locomotive from about 1990.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first. I mean, that's, you know, you've done other things to it since, but
right.
Yeah, that's a real landmark piece for the Bachmann line.
And the K4 itself as a locomotive is it's such a classic as well, and it's actually the state locomotive of Pennsylvania. Which I don't know if every state has a state locomotive, but we do in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's very cool.
Don't drop it.
So Matt, have you always been a model railroader? Since we talked a little bit going in at the beginning, but like this is the first show you've been on. I know you and I have emailed back and forth for quite a while. I know you're a rail fan too. I've seen you post some of your rail fan pictures, but you've been a model railroader all your life as well.
All my life, yeah. When I was a kid, I had trains. I think my first train set was when I was 5 years old. My first Bachmann train set was not too long afterwards, and you know, it's kind of full circle working here at Bachmann now, and
crazy.
Yeah, it's been a lifelong hobby, and you know, I think people, you know, it's one of those hobbies that there's just so much it has to offer.
That's a lot of fun. I think Ken Jr.'s been in the hobby most of his life too. Yeah, family business or something.
It sounds familiar. You get a train set and they pull you in.
They pull you in.
Oh, very neat. But this Hudson's going to be really nice. New York Central, beautiful.
That is beautiful. Yeah. Wow.
And then
there's the N-scale Chargers. Yeah,
yes,
good pictures of those. Yeah.
So this is the last thing that we're going to be talking about tonight, and just like with the Hudson, didn't have this one.
Oh,
hold on.
There we
Almost
go.
lost them.
Good.
Yeah.
I dropped the. I wanted to do the wrong screen. Almost.
All right, we're done. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is one of our painted samples here of the N-scale SC44
Wow.
Nice.
Very. These things amazed me when we received these the first samples. You know, I couldn't believe that they match the HO ones as well as they do. I mean, this is just like they took it's like we took an HO model and just shrunk it down. You know, there's no lacking in detail whatsoever.
Wow, that's
really
awesome.
Nice.
Out of curiosity, is it a working production sample?
So this one unfortunately is not. We I don't know if we have a painted working sample at this point, but
okay.
No, this one is just a paint sample.
Very cool.
But these are coming in the near future as well. We're looking forward to these, and of course the ALC 42s. And just one of the cool features, and I got a highlight on this, is even on the N-scale ones here. You probably can't make it out on the screen, but you can still read the destination on the
little board. Yeah, wow,
cool,
so awesome, man. Ken, there's too much stuff coming out. I can't keep up with it all. I wish there was a magazine or a big mail order train store that could help me keep up with all this stuff.
If only something like that existed.
That's it. Wow. I got to join this beta app. I got to figure out how to get to it. Where do I go again for this beta thing?
Shop.whiteriverproductions.com. Okay. And there'll be a thing for it. I think it's on the homepage right now, but look for digital membership. And you can go back, like every issue of HO Collector is there, going back to its first 5 or 6 years ago. And I think there's like 10 years of model railroad news there. So nice reference and easy to get to. And I say we're testing it, so it's no charge at all right now to try it out. We're doing that for a few months.
Very cool. And hopefully I typed this in correctly, but
yes, yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, become a digital memberships there in the center. Yeah, has it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Very neat. I got to try that. Cool stuff. Advancing with the times. All right. A lot of great stuff, Matt. I tell you, it's already been close to 2 hours just with full new announcements.
I know.
Crazy.
Wow.
I was looking at the time. I was like, hold on, how did that happen?
I know. I don't know how that happens. We start talking about trains and suddenly it's like, you know, the dog's after me to go out. It's like, okay, you know, I'm going to have to stop.
Very neat. And one thing that we're doing, as soon as Bachmann gets pricing, we have been adding them online. So if you're looking for Bachmann trains, you could sort by brand Bachmann. They make all different scales you could sort out. If you're looking for the pre-orders, go to pre-orders, yes. And we've been constantly updating our website as we get the pricing in. And there's a lot on over 300 items from Bachmann. We do carry the full Bachmann line, and there's tons of items. So those are just the pre-orders, but also in stock over, wow, I can't even believe this. This can't be right. Over 1,500 items of Bachmann that we have in stock in our warehouse. And I probably can attest to it because there's definitely a lot of aisles of Bachmann. It's just not one aisle, it's multiple aisles. And, you know, they make so many different scales, and they make scenery, all different kinds of stuff. G scale, O scale, O and 30, HO, double O, N scale. So lots of different stuff, great stuff, and you could all sort it out. But yeah, there's all different ways to find it, and we do carry it all. And you can pre-order it at trainworld.com or order it if it's in stock. But we do carry it all, and Bachmann has been a great partner of ours for a long time. And Matt, Doug, Rich, and the whole Bachmann team, they've always been great ambassadors of the hobby as well. And that's one thing about Bachmann that's so great. They truly want the hobby to grow, whether it's, whatever it is, whatever the case is, they want the hobby to truly grow and get people into trains, which I always thought is neat. And they're not, I don't know, they're just great ambassadors of the hobby.
You know, we know that if we want the hobby to continue, we gotta cater to everybody. We gotta cater to the people who are just getting into it just as much as we cater to the people who have been in it for years.
Without a doubt.
And if you want to see those catalogs, Matt, you go to bachmanntrains.com, and under the catalog tab, you can see that the NMRA flyer that I was paging through, the big annual Bachmann catalog, which I'm always excited. Anytime I hear that, Ken Jr., when I'm asking about, you know, can you tell me about this stuff? Well, right now we're real busy working on the catalog. That's always like around the first part of the year. I'm like, oh, I can't wait for the new catalog to come out. So you can download that new catalog, go through all it for each.
Tony, keep on talking. I got to get the catalog. Hold on. Because Bachmann is one of the few companies that also make a physical catalog. Hold on one second.
You're
going to beat me to the punch.
I got an old one. I got
to get the new one. Hold on.
Yeah, I got this 21 that I must have been looking for something. But yeah, no, I was doing research on, I do that thing. Here you go. Here's 1970.
Oh, there you go. That's a nice recent one. Yeah.
Yeah. I was doing the collector consist for railroad model craftsmen on classic train sets. And I'm going to do the old United Aircraft Turbo, saying, like if you were a little kid back in 1970, wouldn't that have been an awesome train set to get?
Oh yeah.
Tony, do you know Bachmann's mascot?
The Bachmann? Yeah, the
Bachmann.
Guy,
I saw some old sketches of him and floating around. I was like, wow, that's classic. You gotta throw that in the article.
There you go. There's the new one. Yeah.
Very cool. But again, over 200 pages of, this is 2022 trains. So just really, really a lot of great stuff. Very neat. All right, guys. Well, this has been an excellent night, action-packed. We're close to 2 hours long, so I think our consumers out there have been patient enough.
And I got to let the dog out now.
We got to let the dogs out.
Dog is there.
Matt, it has been a pleasure tonight. I really appreciate it, and hopefully you can really pop on anytime you want. And Tony and I will always be more than happy to do a show with you.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Thanks so much for having us.
Awesome. Next time we got to see your layout, Matt. You got to set a camera up so you can let us see your railroad.
Yeah, yeah. I'll do a little teaser here. We got some Bachmann stuff sitting down there.
Very
So,
nice. Yeah.
there you go.
All right. And Tony, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh,
Appreciate it. And always thinking of these great ideas to put together.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Matt. It was great to Matt and I say we've emailed and stuff for the last couple of years.
This is our first face-to-face.
This is the first face-to-face we've had. So how awesome. But thanks a lot, Matt. Thanks, Ken. And everybody have a great evening. I just hear the dog's waiting for me to take him out.
Have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Take care.